Devin Booker, after the game last night, Suns lose to the Pelicans, a 4-win basketball team. Granted, they got some of their guys back last night. And yeah, the Suns didn't have Kevin Durant. But for a lot of Suns fans, this one included, none of that should have mattered. The Suns should have beat the New Orleans Pelicans to start this road trip. Devin Booker was asked about that final possession in which he went to his right. Herb Jones locked him up. He changed his mind, went to his left, and wasn't able to get a shot off. He said, you know what? I should have just kept going.
Yeah, looking back, I should have kept going right. Try to cross back.
Obviously, you got Herb, and he got that length inside. That's what's making you think to continually go right, or just what you felt once that momentum part?
Yeah, I just thought he was cutting me off, so I tried to go back left.
That's Dwayne Rankin from AZ Central is doing the interviewing. And as usual, when they're on the road, we thank Dwayne for the sound that he posts on Twitter, and we use it. He then, Booker, kind of almost foreshadowing, says, we'll see what that old 2-minute report says when the game's done.
I should have got a shot up. I could have did better. But we'll see what the 2-minute report says also.
Have you seen what the 2-minute report said?
I'm looking at it as we speak, as a matter of fact.
And?
Shout out Lauren, by the way, for screen grabbing this before the start of the show. At 1.8 seconds, foul for personal on Herb Jones on Devin Booker was the correct non-call. They say that Jones extends his hand towards the ball and marginal contact occurs with Booker's right arm after he releases his dribble back to his left hand. And then at 0.1 seconds in the shot attempt, Trey Murphy on Devin Booker, again a correct no call. Both Jones and Murphy III are in legal guarding position during Booker's jump shot attempt. Murphy III jumps vertically and absorbs the contact initiated by Booker. So if anything, it's almost as if Booker got off scot-free.
Well, if anything, I mean, you look at it again and again, you could argue maybe that Devin Booker traveled. I almost half expected the last 2-minute report to reveal that Devin Booker should have been called for steps in that moment. Look, this conversation we're about to have about Devin Booker.
It shouldn't be about this one moment in the game.
It's
either.
not. And I was just going to say that. It's not about this. It's not about his decision to change his mind and go left instead of keeping and going right. It's part of that. It's part of his decision to not take the layup and instead kick the ball out to Grayson Allen in the final minute. It's part of that, too. It really is this kind of general overarching thing of, I get it, you don't have Kevin Durant. But on the road against the New Orleans Pelicans, even with them getting the guys back they got back, Devin Booker and Bradley Beal should be enough. That should be more than enough for you to win that basketball game. And not every game that they have lost without Kevin Durant available falls on Devin Booker's shoulders. That would be unfair and it would be inaccurate. Last night's does. Last night's, and I say that as Devin Booker's one of my favorite athletes that I've ever had the pleasure of covering, talking about, or rooting for, and I've lived here my entire life. Devin Booker's awesome. Last night, that one's on him. He's got to elevate that team, and he wasn't able to do it, and that was one of the most frustrating parts of the loss to the Pelicans.
6 of 20 overall from the field, 3 of 10 from three-point range, and he makes up for most of the scoring, going 13 of 14 from the free throw line. So if we want to give Booker some little iota of credit, it's that when he recognizes that the shooting game is not working for him, he finds ways to get fouled and get to the line, and he was very successful in that part. But that's not going to win you basketball games, to your point. It's not going to win you games when you're down one of your 2 members of your big 3. And honestly, I don't think we've touched on this enough. Bradley Beal was not great in the second half.
No.
He was 6 of 8 after the first half, and he finished 10 of 18. That's not really a good standing line to finish with, especially if you're going to be the second man carrying the load for this. And what else hurt them? Tyus Jones was off offensively. He was 5 of 11 from the floor last night, whereas the last few games when the pressure has been less on Tyus, he's been able to surprisingly contribute a good amount of points. Last night was very much not the case for Tyus.
No, I thought they made a little bit of a mistake. I think it's always a little bit of a mistake in the crunch time of these games when Tyus Jones becomes more of the off-ball guy and not the on-ball guy.
Why isn't he leading the ball up before
he kind of was the off-ball guy last night, and I just, that to me flies in the face of why you went and got Tyus Jones in the first place. But that's, I don't want to minimize it. That's important. I don't want to minimize Bradley Beal either. I mean, he scored the ball fine, but to your point, he didn't shoot the ball well in the second half, and his turnovers were a mess all night long. It's not just about Devin Booker, but
Booker's the one we expect to be great when he has the chance to be great.
Booker's he's one of the best players in the NBA. And so when he's given a moment, and this is, and again, I'm borrowing a line from Kellen Olson's, from his game recap at ArizonaSports.com, what he wrote about the team. It didn't used to be this much of a battle for him to do this against a lesser team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this is an arena in which the last 2 times he's been there, he's dropped 52 on the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, I wasn't expecting him to do that, but at the same time, I'm expecting better than 2 for 10 from the floor after the end of the first quarter, which is what Devin Booker was. What it means, I don't know, except it concerns me greatly that if this team is going to have these little pockets where Kevin Durant isn't going to be available, and who knows how that's going to stretch out over the course of the season, it's incumbent on Devin Booker to, hey, you're not the second best player on this team. It's 1 and 1A. Be 1A. You know, don't be a clear. It's like what you said so perfectly earlier in the show. Man, it's the idea never was Kevin Durant as the best player on the Suns. It was Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and to a lesser extent, Bradley Beal, all kind of sharing the load. That's gotten lost this year. That's gotten really, really lost this year, where it's morphed into this situation where Kevin Durant is clearly the best player on the Phoenix Suns. And it almost feels like there's this gap that shouldn't exist between him and Devin Booker for number 2 on the team. And yet here we are talking about this gap between the two of them. And that can't be if this team is going to succeed.
I think the emphasis is more for Booker to pick things up because he's been one of the few that have actually played in every single game that the Suns have played this year. He's played in all 21. Like, if we were to assume that somebody was going to be dealing with injury issues early on, based off of recent injury history, you could have picked any of the big 3,
Absolutely.
if we're being honest.
Absolutely.
But Booker has been the one that's played in every single game. And it's weird because I just checked his season stat line. He's averaging 44% from the field, 35% from 3, and he's averaging 25 points a game. But it doesn't feel like that when I'm watching it.
Well,
you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like he's a 44% field shooter. It doesn't feel like he's a 35% three-point shooter. It doesn't feel like he's averaging 25 points a game the when I watch him.
I would hazard a guess that those 3 numbers are the lowest he's had in his career, in a while in his career. If you're looking at his season stats for Devin Booker's career, certainly the 24.7 is the lowest he's had in some time, right?
So 25-1 is what he's averaging right now. Last year it was 27-1. Year before 27-8, 26-8, 25-6. Yeah, so you have to go back to his first 3 years to when he was that low
points per game
in terms
average. Of shooting percentage, I bet it's the same. In terms of three-point percentage, Devin Booker's never been, it's crazy to say it, he's never been like a super elite 3-point shooter. He's been good at it.
But the amount of attempts are way up. He's averaging 8 attempts so far this year.
Yeah, it's just been, look, he could come out against Miami, he probably will come out against Miami on Saturday and drop a 40-burger on him, right? Like it's that could happen just as easily too. It's just everything about last night had Devin Booker's going to go off and have a big night tattooed all over it. And to not only watch it not happen, it makes me feel even more uncomfortable about the plan moving forward with this idea. And I'll say this again. The big 3 as a concept was put together as we've got the big 3, knowing full well if one of them's out, we still have 2 of the elite players in the NBA. We're going to be okay. That's not working this year.
Nope.
And I know some of those games were without Bradley Beal. The games where Devin Booker's by himself, I'll give him a pass on those games.
Separate category.
No, that's a different category, okay? Games like last night where it's him and one of the other stars and they're missing a third, man, it's not supposed to be this hard when they're down Kevin Durant. That was never the idea for this team.
Some of these are circumstantial, but his points by quarter last night, 15 in the first, 0 in the second, 5 in the third, and 8 in the fourth. And in reality, he didn't even reach that first point until there was about 5 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
Which is when you approach, oh, goodness, I have to take over now because it's a tight game, it's crunch time, and I need to hero ball this way to victory.
But I felt he was even doing that in the third quarter when Ingram was going off, and I felt like Devin Booker was trying to hero ball his way through that too. Like, I need to match what he's doing. I'm the only one here who can match what he's doing.
A lot of one person possessing the basketball.
That's in the third quarter, I thought I saw a lot of that.
Thanks for watching Burns and Gambo. Click to see more from the guys and hit the button in the middle to subscribe so you never miss a video from Arizona sports.